Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here for this laugh and learn about the Reticular Activating System. I have amazing guests with me. First, there's Tanys from Twillow Lifestyle and Twillow Lifestyle Community. And then we also have Jenn from My Holistic Self. And I'm Tarot Stash. And rounding this out, we have the best chatters.
Absolutely.
Yes, I think so. So thank you two for being here. This is great. I'm always looking forward to learning some things. I know there will be laughter here. I mean, that's
Indeed.
just what happens. So,
It's what we do.
It is what we do. It is what we do. And Jenn, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm super excited. I'm just making all kinds of hand gestures because I'm a weirdo. I'm having fun with that.
Among other weirdos, yes.
Well, you found your tribe.
I'm just
We even have little hands making hand gestures, so
hey,
tiny hands are hand
it's
gestures.
fantastic. No, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me to join you for this chat.
Thank you. And Tanys, how are you?
I am okay, thank you.
Good.
In case I cough, I am fighting a bit of a bug, so
Okay.
but just in case.
This topic came up for us, about a month, 6 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think was I on with the two of you? And then there was some talk about the red car syndrome. And suddenly the idea of the reticular activating system was showing up everywhere.
Yeah.
Isn't that how it works?
That's exactly what it's about.
I did not even plan it that way, but that is how it works.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works.
That
is your RAS in action.
There you
right
go.
There.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank you both for spending some time with me. And want to say hi to everyone in chat. I will be trying. I mean, we are not doing personal readings today. We are talking about the reticular activating system, and we're going to do the science stuff. So Jenn will geek out about that. I might geek out a little bit, but we will also be talking about, why do we care about this? What does this do for us in our everyday life? So there's that. And all right, so Michelle Marie is here. Hershey, the shadow reader.
Hey everyone.
Kaylee Fogopogo is probably work lurking, I would imagine.
I would think.
Twisted Sushi, hello.
Hey.
Beth Aspasia Rising.
Hey. Thanks for the tip, Beth. I have my tea and honey right now.
Very nice. Very nice. Pepper Jackie said, RAS, attention and alertness of the brain.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
So Linnea A is here. Hello.
Hey.
Michelle Krantz is joining us. That's wonderful. And then we have Teresa,
Hey.
Darian, and best chatters. There you go.
Best chatters.
And Jane the Seeker is stopping by at the Pain Doctors, wishing us a great live, and have a success.
Sending you love and light.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer has a whole après-ski look going today. Is that how you say that?
She does. Yeah, she's got the turtleneck and all.
There you go. There you go. Richie is here. Hello.
Hey.
Flower Beauty is here. Oh, and of course, Diana Oil Painter. Howdy, not in the car, but getting ready to and hike.
Nice.
Lori Hunsinger is here. Hello.
Hello.
And Shamina is here.
Hey, Sham.
And Flower Beauty just changed their name to Peacock Rainbow.
Very good.
Cool.
Wonderful.
Hello.
Rossi is here. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, there you go. Broth and
Yeah.
nettle tea.
Yeah.
That
I
you
have
add.
my magical tea telling me I'm magical too.
There
with,
you
with
go.
honey.
I love it. And all right, so who did I miss? Yeah. Oh, Michelle Murray is not work lurking.
No.
So there you go.
A little break. A little break.
A
Breaks
little
are
bit
good.
of a break. A little bit of a break.
Breaks are good.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to turn this. Oops, sorry, not that. I'm going to turn that off.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the reticular activating system?
Yeah. So actually, before we start, let's take a minute. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
So we're going to be coming up to holidays. So people are going to have holiday parties, maybe friends, get-togethers. I'm going to have you imagine yourself going to a holiday work party. If you don't have one, imagine that you do. Okay, going out to a busy restaurant for this big holiday party. Okay, maybe you're a mingler. Maybe you're one of those people that likes to just kind of find a spot and sit and have people come to you. Doesn't matter. I just want you to put yourself in that scene.
Okay. If you're not driving or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't close your eyes if you're driving.
Yes.
That's not going to help your RAS
No.
or your health and safety.
Now, just if you're driving, you can just think about this. You don't have to actually put yourself there. All right. So now think about, if you're driving, you can just do this while you're driving and think about all of the things that are around you while you're driving. So think about all of the things that are going on around you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you're at this party, you're going to think about all the things going on there, all the people showing up, the work colleagues, plus like all the other guests that are showing up at the restaurant, all the servers that are taking orders or clearing plates away, people that are just coming and going, all the chatting, maybe there's music playing. Sometimes there's like things being called over a PA system. There's just the buzz that's all around us, right? Sometimes there's TVs that are on in a bar area. People are cheering for sports teams. There's sometimes intimate conversations that are going on at tables. Sometimes there's a bit of tension going on at other tables.
Sure.
Sometimes there's some kids at tables with stressed out parents. Like there's all kinds of stuff going on around us, right? Now, I'm going to venture that a good majority of us are probably a little bit of people watchers, right? We feel into energy and stuff around us. But ultimately, how much of all of this stuff is actually in the forefront of our attention, right? Especially if we're having a conversation with somebody.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're having a conversation with someone, you're talking about, a project that you've been working on or something that's interesting or what's going on at home. Okay. You're, kind of in that conversation. Now, how much of all this other stuff is really, something that you're paying attention to? But now all of a sudden you hear your name mentioned across the room. Where's your attention? You kind of perk up.
Yep.
You're all ears. You're like, hold on a minute. What's going on over there? I just heard my name.
Something.
A second, right?
There's something familiar.
Right. That's your reticular activating system in action. Right?
Yep.
It brings you to full sudden attention. You are ready for action. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So all this other stuff can be going on and it's kind of filtering everything. Right? So in reticular formation, it's kind of this net. It's like the gateway for conscious awareness, right? And so the RAS is the network of communication that's going back and forth that says it's time now to act. All right. So I can get into all the science of it if you really want me to. But basically, it's the gas pedal that ignites the action.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what happens is there's a quote that's really cool. This is a William James quote. And actually, hold on, guys. Let me pull it up really quick. Just because I want to quote it properly. Because,
I appreciate that.
I mess up quotes. All right. He says, millions of items are present to my senses, which never properly enter into my experience. Why? Because they have no interest for me. My experience is what I agree to attend to. Each of us literally chooses by his ways of attending to things what sort of a universe he shall appear to himself to inhabit.
Yeah. And that right there is the connection to the spiritual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the role it plays in how we see the world.
Yeah. And so when we talk about, all of this stuff with, our RAS and what is going on there, we can get into a little bit about what that looks like in connection with our nervous system and all of that. But ultimately, it's this filter that we have that determines what we pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
If we really want to bring it down to nuts and bolts.
And so that I'm just going to add a little piece from the spiritual perspective.
Yeah.
Because in my channeling class, we talk about what they call the assemblage point. And that's like where we see the world or how we see the world and how that is portrayed. So oftentimes we talk about the assemblage point sort of being from about here. And when we do channeling, we change our assemblage point. And so you're changing where you see the world from in order to do the channeling. So the reticular activating system plays a role in that because we're changing how we're going to perceive what's around us. So in terms of the system itself, when I change channels in terms of tuning into the other dimensional frequencies to see other stuff, I'm actually working with my reticular activating system because I'm tuning into a different assemblage point.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, the reticular activating system needs to be involved. Is that correct, Jen? That's my assumption based on that stuff.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is the ultra major chakra, right, which is the assemblage point, right? What we're doing is we're forming a connection, so that mind, body, spirit connection. So we've got the ajna point, right? So the ultra major point, which is the assemblage point connection, and then we have basically the RAS, right? And
which is right there, right?
Which is right there, right? Yeah. So we're basically forming that connection piece between them. And this is when we talk about connecting the consciousness, like the higher and lower consciousness, that's exactly on the biological level what the RAS is doing for us, just as that assemblage point allows for that higher connection piece to come into our consciousness, right? Just as we have that seeing. So it really is the mind, body, spirit ability to connect those three things together in flow.
So the back of the, so some people may not know the yogic name. So it's the back of the third eye is where we're talking about, which is sometimes referred to as the mouth of God. So it's right at the crook of the neck where Gerald was showing. That's you were calling it the ajna?
No, the ajna point. So we've got the three, right? So the third eye, the assemblage point.
Okay, so that's the back of the third eye.
Right, and then the RAS is in the brain.
Okay, so the back of the third eye is here.
It's a little lower, I think.
Yeah, it's the brain.
It's more like where the brainstem meets.
Yeah, I can't
Right, it's in the crook of the neck. You know, if you reach behind and you see where the lump is in your neck here.
Oh yeah.
Right at the crook, in the inside of that crook, that's where that is. That's the back of the third eye. So the third eye actually kind of goes on a bit of an angle.
Yeah. So then this is the reticular activating system, the RAS. It's actually a bundle of nerves, right?
So reticular is net. If you want
Net.
in Latin.
It's a net. I have been corrected.
Yeah.
In a very loving way. And I'm so glad you did this, because this is why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, Beth, the occipital ridge. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, you know, when we talk about like net or like web-like, I think is the other way that they talk about it in the Latin, right? And it's this like web that catches everything. Like if you think about a web and how it's formed and what its purpose is, right? It's catching all of the stimuli as it's coming and going, and it's deciding what it's going to let pass and what it's going to hold on to and keep, and right. And so it is this kind of beautiful imagery if we really want to think about it. You know, these network of neurons that are constantly firing, and this net system is determining what is going to pass through our subconscious to our conscious on a continual basis.
Yes. Yeah, look at me. Yes. Because I did a whole bunch of research. I went down that rabbit hole that I told the two of you that I wasn't going to go down when I emailed you initially. And of course I went down the rabbit hole. And because okay, so I want to, the Sanskrit term for ajna signifies perception, command, or something beyond wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And then third eye chakra helps to provide a clear vision, trust our inner instincts, and make significant decisions aligned with our higher purpose.
Right. And this is where we get thinking, not thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing, not knowing. Doing, not doing. Right? Like this is where all of this comes from, because it's not about what the conditioned mind wants to do.
Yeah.
Right. And that's all about what this work with the RAS is. It's about getting out of the conditioning and reprogramming with what we want in our experience. Right. So here's the thing, right? The RAS, what happens is, so the RAS activates our cerebral cortex, so the thinking mind, right? And it infuses it with the energy to wake up and act.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But what happens is, so I don't know if you want to go here yet, but like when the RAS is not working properly.
Uh-huh.
So the idea here is the RAS is, like I said, it's the gas pedal, right? It puts all of these things in action. So if you were to like take an fMRI, right, you can actually see when it activates, you can see the work in the thalamus and the hypothalamus and even the cortical areas. Like you can see them all kind of like start firing, right? But when the RAS is not functioning, that activation isn't there. So it's kind of like if somebody was in a coma, right? Like there's just that firing doesn't happen. Or on the flip side, there's this overfiring, right? So that dysregulation can cause all kinds of problems. And this is where we get, like anything from like not being able to sleep to waking up a lot to the vivid dreams and nightmares. This is where we have like ADHD, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, PTSD, depression. We can go even into like bipolar, schizophrenia are associated with it. Like there's a lot of things that are associated with the RAS dysfunctioning and being dysregulated.
I have to step away for a second. My neighbor is calling and needs some assistance. I need to check something. The two of you, please continue, because this is fascinating. And just like Beth, I know I'm already going to have to rewatch this.
Okay.
Hopefully your neighbor's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope so too. So, and this is because the RAS and the nervous system, especially the autonomic nervous system with the vagus nerve, they're so interconnected.
Yeah.
Right. And what happens is we talk, and Tanys, we do this all the time, right? We talk about mind, body, spirit, and how important it is to work on all of these things together.
Right.
Right. We can't just do one. right? We have to do all of it. And so if we're working on, just the mind, right? We're not working with the nervous system. We're not working on releasing that from the body. We're not working on healing that. We're not working on the spiritual side of it and understanding what the context of all of that means in healing on those deeper levels. And so when it comes to working with the RAS, the beautiful thing about it is the filter.
Yeah.
Right?
It's what tells us what we should be aware of. And so when we go into that kind of thing, then we're looking at things like, we've had a couple of questions here.
Mm-hmm.
Is the RAS filtering our messages during sleep? And things like, is that why I struggle with meditation, etc.? My brain won't shut off. It's in a constant state of hypervigilance. So I think that the RAS can play a role in both of those, right?
Yeah.
In terms of that.
Well, the RAS is responsible for our sleep-wake cycles,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it is responsible for whether or not we go into REM sleep. And REM sleep is what helps us to process our day and
Mm-hmm.
our ability to, as we talk about, file away all of those
Mm-hmm.
experiences. And so this is where, that lack of filing with trauma and trauma experiences comes into play, right? The ability to actually rest and deal with that, right? Being able to navigate those things. If we're dysregulated, the RAS is keeping us from being able to get out of that, activated place, because it's keeping us constantly aroused.
So does this play a role too then, Jenn, in, I'm thinking it probably does, in your meditative states? So in terms of, does it, how we go into alpha, beta, and all of those, does this help us? Is this what puts us in those different states as we start to meditate and all of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the RAS plateaus in the gamma state, right? But it can allow us or not allow us to go into the beta, alpha, theta, delta, depending on how activated it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's functioning properly, it's supposed to be what brings us into our delta state for
Right.
sleep, right?
Yeah.
But when it's not functioning properly, it won't bring us there. It won't let us get there, right? And so when it comes to meditation and all of that, if it's keeping us activated, we can't get into, an alpha or theta state, because we're not able to relax and go inward and focus, because it has us on alert.
Mm-hmm.
And it's constantly looking for danger or looking for what's going on around us to make sure that we're safe.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way. My neighbor is one of those people, when she calls, I answer it.
Yes.
So
No problem.
yes. And so everything is fine.
Good.
We covered a couple of questions while you were gone. The one you had on the bottom was one that we sort of talked about already. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we weren't ignoring you.
No, I kind of figured. So did you talk about why we have an RAS and how does it do what it does? Sort of talked about that.
Well, we didn't talk about why, I guess, but I guess it's
survival.
It's kind of part and parcel, right? It's survival. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you really want to get into the whole why behind it. I mean, we started getting studies in the brain. I think they started looking into the fact that it was this reticular formation back in the late 1800s, when they started looking at the way that the brain worked in this way. But it really wasn't brought in until the early 1900s that this net-like kind of thing was here, and why it was here. But it really is connected to our survival. So like I said, the RAS and the ANS, autonomic nervous system, are very interconnected. So when we talk about the why behind it, okay, let's go back to, human experience million years ago. We're out foraging for food and face to face with, I don't know, Mr. Tiger, Mr. Lion, whoever, right? And we immediately go into, oh no, what do I need to do to survive, right? And so it's, the RAS is there to go, oh shit, tiger. And the autonomic nervous system is there to respond to it and go, okay, we need to muster energy. We need to start burning our glucose. We need to, start producing, more cortisol. We need to shut down, all of our digestive system, and we need to shut down our immune system, and we need to shut down all of this, because all of that power needs to go towards producing more energy and heightening our senses and making sure that we can get the hell out of Dodge, right? And so these two systems that's how they're so deeply interconnected, right? Because the RAS sounds the alarm, and the autonomic nervous system, the ANS, goes, yep, got it. And then completely takes care of what the body's response is, right? So we can't have one without the other.
If we do, it's problematic.
If we do, it's problematic. And I will say, by the way, there's a lot of research out there, a lot of research available on the internet. Check your resources, because always check your resources. One of the great definitions, Jenn, that I read, or it's just like, and this is why a family who lives next to a train can sleep through a train passing by, and a child makes a whimper, everybody is awake, because it literally filters out. I don't need to know that stuff. This is what I'm focused on.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I live beside a train, by the way. Just for interest sake. I have one that goes right behind the back of my house, and I filter it out very well. So
then this is interesting, because one of the first things that you said, the idea of full sudden attention, that okay, so maybe it was just my RAS. As a manager, I always knew when I needed to be somewhere. I couldn't necessarily hear what was being said. I could either sense the energy, or I could, the connection to my staff was such that all of a sudden I'm walking up and go, nope, it's not that way, it's this way, or yes, you can do that. And because this is all about me.
So I think there's a piece here as well that ties into the quantum entanglement piece, right? Because our RAS is connected to all of that as well, right? And quantum entanglement means that we're entangled with everything all over the world at any given moment. And so the RAS plays a huge role when you think about it that way, because it's not just our physical environment. We're also connected, entangled with energies from all over. So when we talk about the collective and being tapped into the collective, our RAS is what kind of taps us into those things. Like I tell a story about how I had a really huge, not panic attack, but I was like all of a sudden crying and upset, and I didn't know why. And like an hour later, I found out that Facebook, and I guess it's Instagram, right? Facebook and Instagram went down right at the time that I was having that. And I realized how connected I was to this entangled net that we call the collective. And so that was my reticular activating system going, something's wrong in the world. Spidey senses going off, right?
Sure.
And so that's with quantum entanglement part of that. So if you're tapped in terms of that, and you're stuck in that quantum entanglement, and your RAS is actually tuning into all of that information, then you're really going to have a heightened response for that. And so that's it. If you want to have a look at, I just did an interview with Adam Apollo all about the quantum entanglement. It's fascinating. So check that out. It's on the Alliance for Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact page.
Yeah. Well, and Dee said it's it's no wonder we're all on edge right now.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
every time something happens somewhere in the world, we're tuned in, because we became much more tuned in with COVID, right?
Yeah.
COVID sort of expanded our awareness in a way, right? We used to be all sort of just in our own sort of thing, and all of a sudden COVID is this worldwide thing, and all of a sudden our reticular activating system's going, oh, I need to pay attention to everything else that's going on, not just what's in my little corner of the world. And so all of a sudden we're tuned in when there's a flood over on the other side of the world. We're feeling it, and we don't know why. So part of that is the reticular activating system being alert.
Yeah.
I just have to say right now, I'm extremely happy because the two of you are geeking out, and it's making so much sense to me. And it's rhythm. There's this nice exchange. So thank you. Thank you. I wanted to say
My
that
pleasure.
because it's like, okay. And I want to get caught up in some of the chat because a few people said
Yes.
some things, and I want to get caught up on that.
Mhm.
And then I really want to dive into.
Before we move on, though, I just want to talk about that really quickly too, though, because we also have to recognize that we don't just have the physical body.
Right. We have
Right.
the energetic bodies and everything as well.
Right. And so when we look at the connection between the physical and the etheric and the astral and the mental vehicle, like
Mhm.
we have to understand that these connections, right? Like the RAS is a component biologically of the physical body,
Mhm.
but it's also a component of, the spiritual connection.
Yeah.
And this connection is also a piece of the whole, right? And so there is the quantum entanglement piece, most definitely. And there is, because of the fractals and all of the crystalline grid, we also have that piece, right?
Yeah.
So there is everything that we touch causes the entanglement, plus we are already components of the fractal line, plus we are all components of the whole. So like on a multitude of levels, we are so interconnected that if we are willing to tap into that, we have systems in place that will allow us to know and feel all of those things.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I gave a sort of not a negative example, but an example of over feeling, but we can do that in a more conscious way and be more aware of the effect that it might have on us as well.
And Michelle said, love that, Tanys. The astrology community was all of us just before COVID. We had a magic
Major stellium.
major stellium eclipse at the Nakshatra ruled by Kali, the destroyer.
Yeah.
RAS spiked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and Pepper Jackie is geeking out as well. Love learning about the brain. So
Awesome.
Nice.
Okay. Oh yes, and this is early on passenger consciousness. I'm intrigued, is what you called it. Third eye chakra helps to provide clear vision, trust our inner instincts, and make significant decisions aligned with our higher purpose. And this is something that is, I found there was an article about using your RAS to help setting goals differently so that you can actually get them, so that you can focus on the right things and just support yourself, and not just, oh, well, I'm going to be happy. Well, it's not just, I mean, you need a map, and you also need to know how to read the map.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just setting your intention, I'm going to be happy. Well, you're lost in the woods without a map, but you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the reticular activating system sets you up to see the things that will help you and give you the tools to complete those things, right? So, it'll show you, it'll bring into your awareness the map, and it'll bring into your awareness the class on how to read the map, right?
Yes.
And so that you can actually take those things up into your learning.
I love it.
Yeah,
So-
I love it when I talk to clients and we talk about how, I'll have a client who goes, well, I used to be this way. And I just, I don't know why I'm not anymore. And we'll talk about, what's been going on in their lives and all of this. And then we'll talk about, okay, well, I'll try, a gratitude practice, or I'll try something. And then they'll try something, and then they'll go, oh, well, that didn't work. Right. And it's like, okay, well, you just, had how many months or years of training your brain to look for the negative, or to, prove to yourself why things are not good, right? We talk about confirmation bias, which is a lot of what the reticular activating system actually does, right? And we've done so much time doing that to the negative. You can't just do, it's not a one and done, right? This is a practice of continually working towards and retraining yourself to look for things that are meaningful for you.
Yes. Yes. Tanys, Beth would like you to say that term again, please. And I don't know.
I'm assuming it's quantum entanglement that she wants. That was the one that I brought in. So quantum entanglement. I think you typed it out earlier.
I did. I type it in. Just that was just recent. So
okay.
Yeah, great insight.
Because it is neural pathways we're looking at here too, right? So just like when we have to retrain our brain to do things, it's the same with the RAS. We have to retrain it to see what we want it to see.
The phrase with the ventricular or something.
Was that me?
That was you. Yeah. It's the phrase. There's, I
don't know, guys. I'm channeling part of this.
We're 37 minutes in, so maybe,
Ventricular.
So
if it comes back, I'll mention it. But I think that might have been Jenn, just saying.
So,
or I channeled.
Dee said the RS is the regulator of consciousness and arousal and other information, respiration rate, cough response, cardiac rhythm, and chewing. And Beth also said recent studies show women don't have fight-flight response in the same way as men. The original study was done only using only male subjects. Women have a tend and befriend response. Interesting, which makes sense because females couldn't fend off marauding males or outrun them, nor would they leave their children.
Right. Yeah, so it goes way back, right?
Yeah, it does go way back.
A good majority of studies, if you actually look at them, are mostly done with men and have been for many, many years. Even studies that are done for the female body. So, but we don't, that's a whole other.
That's a whole different show.
That's a whole other topic.
Yeah. Leah asks, do they have any comments on head trauma and its changing neuro pathways? And again, for entertainment purposes only, but.
And if you want to get into, and like Gerald said, I would be careful with your sources. Like I tend to go for scholarly articles when I do my reading, but that's just because of the profession and all of that. Like, but there is definitely any kind of actual trauma, physical trauma, there is impacts to the brain. So it's worth looking into. That being said, from a spiritual perspective, I also know of accounts where that hasn't been an issue or an impact, where people have been able to work through actual physical traumas and reconnect pathways that science has no idea how that's possible.
Yeah.
Right? So.
And Leah did say, I became knowing after head trauma. It changed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you probably, for sure.
I think there's both ways.
Yeah. Michelle added, the simplest way to avoid confirmation bias is to look at a belief you hold and search out ways in which you're wrong rather than the ways in which you're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's brilliant. Okay.
Absolutely. And, we do this all of the time. And this is something too, when we talk about the RAS, like we talk often about, the alertness and what we look for. And, the car thing was something that you had mentioned earlier on. And I know we've talked about it before. Like you go out and you buy a car and all of a sudden you see that make, model, or color of car everywhere kind of thing. Right. And it's because what's in the forefront of our mind is what we see. And it's the same thing with how we interpret situations. And so it's really, really important when we're talking about things like confirmation bias and stuff like that, that we really pay attention to our narratives, because our core beliefs and the things that we hold will determine how we interpret our experiences, our connections, our conversations, the way that we, experience everything. And so it's such a deeply rooted thing in every single aspect of our experience.
Yes. So this is where, so for our spiritual practices, for our life in general, if we focus on, let's say, gratitude, we don't necessarily, we see more gratitude opportunities.
Right.
They're always there. We just recognize them because our RAS filters out the stuff that doesn't sync up with what we want, what our desired outcome is.
Mm-hmm.
So it plays a big role in manifesting.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it's important too that we recognize that it's not about manifesting in the sense of just anything, whatever. It really, the RAS is about opening
Mhm.
our consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Gives us a guide almost to
Yeah.
open the door for that to happen.
So we wake up in the morning and we climb out of bed and we stub our toe and we go, damn, it's going to be a shitty day. Right? And then we go to get ready for our day and we realize we're out of toothpaste. And then we realize there's no toilet paper. And then we did it. And it just, right? And we continue to just say, today's going to be awful. Today's going to be awful. Right? It's really hard to have a good day in that energy.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We wake up in the morning and we stub our toe and we go, all right, well, at least that's out of the way. Now let's have a good day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We bend down and we rub our toe and we find a couple dollars on the floor and we go, oh, nice. I can treat myself to coffee today. Right?
Yeah.
It's, we would have never found it if we had stuck with the first attitude. It's not that it wasn't there to begin with. It's not that anything had actually changed in the environment, but what we were open to in our experience was completely different.
So changing our narrative is significant.
Yeah.
In everything. But go ahead, Tanys.
No, I was just going to say, so you can tell when you've done this, when you've changed your perspective in a way, because things will happen like you'll walk into a room you've walked into every day for 10 years and all of a sudden see something different. Like, oh, how long has that book been there? I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And your partner says, it's been there for about 10 years. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, look at that. So you're changing, you can change those things gradually, and all of a sudden you'll notice these things. You'll see, oh, I'm seeing things slightly differently. So it's kind of like, so I wonder, and I don't know, this is just what's coming to mind. I wonder what kind of role that plays in our switching of timelines. Because that's kind of what happens with a timeline. You're all of a sudden seeing things and they're a bit different. And is it a timeline we're switching? Or is it our RAS kicking in and we're seeing something different? We've reprogrammed ourselves. What is it that creates that for us? Because they talk about it being a timeline, but really it's all happening all at the same time. So is it just a perception change? And is the RAS actually an important role in that? in that thing.
I
I don't know that. It's just a question that came up.
I think it's a really thoughtful question, because if we're looking at seeing things outside of the currently visible world,
Mm-hmm.
and we tune in, we fine tune, our RAS has to do the same thing, or can do the same thing, and then we're more open to seeing that in that possibility. Because let's face it, if we could see all of those things all of the time, it would be really hard to manage existing here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people struggle with, I think, when they first start seeing those things, or seeing more, like seeing the other dimensions, or, seeing our guides or whatever that is in terms of that. Because they're like, you mean all of this has been here and I wasn't seeing it? What else am I not seeing? It can create that fear response in us. And that's the RAS kicking in, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, right? Whether it's this particular timeline or other timelines, or even when we look at dealing with other lives and all of that, there is this kind of connection with the RAS and looking at our dharma, right? And what we're here for and all of that. And there is this kind of movement from being, the imagery is that kind of like being tossed like a leaf in the wind, right? Of just kind of being tossed around and allowing this life to do as it pleases to us, to really taking conscious control of our work here, right? And realizing that we are proponents of our own reality, and that we have capacity to determine where we're going to go and what we want to bring into our experience. And if that does mean capacity to even then decide timelines and all of that, that's a really fascinating thing. But to be able to actually look at it and go, wow, like I have more capacity here than I've realized up until this point, right?
It's empowering in that way.
Yes.
But people can feel it. It's a bit overwhelming as well.
Well, having that responsibility is pretty scary.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that goes, for me, that does away with some of that idea of toxic positivity. Because toxic positivity, for me, it just means that you're not honoring and you're not recognizing the difficulty that you're experiencing and the things that you have to sort through. It's just moving them aside. I think there is part of it, though, and again, part of it is we can choose which things we want to focus on, but we're still going, when we need to focus on other things, we can still do that because that's what we do. Does that make sense? Okay. Jen's quiet. What are you thinking, Jenn?
Yeah, I mean, it's all interconnected. Everything is connected. Right? So if we okay, I'm going to go here, and if people don't like it, I apologize, but there was a time where some things came out in the world that talked about manifesting and basically made people think that if you just willed it hard enough, you could make it happen. And that if you didn't have a good life, it was all your fault. And so people who went through serious trauma, who were horribly abused, who were living in the streets, who were having horrific experiences, were basically shamed and made to feel like it was all their fault that they were living these horrific experiences. And that is not okay.
No.
Yes.
In any way, shape, or form. And I think that it is a really important piece that, as you're talking about this idea of toxic positivity and all of that, that we really take a moment to look at, this isn't about, you know, saying, well, if I can change my RAS, I can make it so I can win $1 million. Or if I change my RAS, I can make it so I can have a whole new family. Or if I change, like, it's
Yeah.
not.
No, because there's a missing piece there.
Yeah.
A few missing pieces, but one big one. You know, what's meant for us will find us.
Well, and this is the bigger piece, right? And so we have to, and this is again that mind, body, spirit piece, right? Like, we are here to have a human experience. And yet we are a spiritual being. We are here to connect with our monad. We are here to connect with the truth of who we are. And yet we are still here to have a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we are here to learn that we are in complete control of what this human experience looks like, but not in a way of completely dictating everything in the material, but in being able to navigate anything in the material.
That's the distinguishing point.
And
right
that's
there.
the difference. And
Yeah.
that's what the RAS is all about. It is not about, I'm going to use my RAS so that I can change everything in my world around me. It's, I'm going to use and manage my RAS so that I'm okay no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that is a huge distinction. Right?
Say that again so it can sink in, please.
Give it to me again.
Oops. We'll watch the playback.
It was about not changing necessarily what's around you, but being okay with whatever happens is the crux of it. And so knowing that the RAS can help us guide us through whatever happens for us to be okay. Not that we're going to change what happens. It's about us guiding through what happens as opposed to changing what happens.
Yeah.
I think that was the crux of what you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not
quite as eloquent, but
you know, we're not here to. Oh, I love that. Sorry, I just looked at a comment on the side. Leah said, "Surrender, settle into your heart." That, I love that. That resonates, I think, with what I said.
Yeah, because it's about allowing yourself to be in the heart space, because your heart space, you're always okay in your heart space. No matter what's going on around you, you're always going to be okay if you're in your heart space.
Right. And so the RAS is about coming into alignment with authentically who we want to be in this lived human experience and what that looks like in connection with our true self. Right? So when we look at this mind, body, spirit piece, it's, who do I want to be and what part of my higher self do I want to connect with and bring forward in this experience? And I can use my RAS to bring that into alignment and to bring that forward in this experience.
That's beautiful.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I'm just sitting
that
here.
Was channeled, you can tell.
I'm just watching the glow. Like, okay. Yeah. Well, and I
Not
think
that Jen couldn't come up with that herself, by the way. She's totally intelligent. She's an incredibly intelligent human being. But I could tell that was channeled. She's looking at me funny. She doesn't look impressed.
No, sorry. There's so much.
They're yelling at you. Yeah, I can tell.
They're screaming so much. It's like, and this, and then this, and then this. And I'm like, okay, guys, I just
one at a time. Get in the line. That's what I tell them. Get in the line one at a time. Can't listen to you all at once.
Well, and I think this idea of is this, you know, some of the things I love the idea of the RAS can help us connect to our higher purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And as Tanys, you were saying, we have that opportunity to find the classes and the things that will help us get closer. Be they skills, connections, interactions, spiritual awakening, all sorts of things. And it takes ongoing attention.
Yes.
Because this is about neural pathways. And
it is.
create new neural pathways
with repetition.
And I don't remember how
and
many
experience, I guess.
Yeah, repetitions and experience, and so it's very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that comes into play. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, attention with intention.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Some wonderful. All right. Yeah, Peacock Rainbow, formerly Flower Beauty, which is a lovely name, Peacock Rainbow. Yes, toxic positivity and totally ungrounded approach. Because I don't think our RAS would allow us to be ungrounded, would it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it can, yeah.
Okay, it can? Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think it kind of creates some ungrounding at times, but it's more of the
when it's not regulated.
Yeah,
our RAS is all over the map. We're not sleeping. We're having issues with anxiety. We're having issues with attention. We're having issues with it being we're a mess.
Yes. True, Gerald. Yeah. Toxic positivity is a pressure to stay upbeat no matter how dire one's circumstances. It's a form of madness that isn't fun at the receiving end, and it's definitely as traumatic as in the Gita.
It's defined as tamasic in the Gita, which means that so which is like a negative kind of term.
Yeah, and yes, the brain is the most fascinating organ in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And Leah said, "Damn, Gerald, your shows are premium viewing, smart, fast, and super connected each time. Bravo." Well,
awesome.
I'm very blessed to have amazing guests. So,
you're blessed to be asked.
Mm-hmm.
And Jonathan has a question. His family lied to him and tried to take his home and sell it. How do I get over that?
Yeah. So it's tough, right? Because we have these lived experiences and they are horrible. And I think the first step is validating the fact that it sucks. It's a really horrible experience, right? But with any kind of horrible experience, the biggest thing is to get through it and not stay in it, right? And so, yes, they lied and they tried to take the home and sell it, right? But we don't want to stay in that place of reliving that over and over and over again, because that's where trauma lives.
Yeah.
Right? And so what are the narratives that are coming up that are continually bringing you into that place of suffering? Those are the things that you want to work on when it comes to the RAS, because it's going to look for signs to continually relive those experiences and re-experience those feelings, right? And that's the stuff that you don't want to happen. So those are the signs you look for to make sure that you reprogram the RAS to not be doing that, right?
She also added, he's struggling with this and I'm trying to hold space.
Right.
That's beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing to hold that space for him.
Absolutely.
Right? So
that's one of the best things we can do for each other.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Jonathan, for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And all the best in that healing space. But part of healing is also the grieving of it. And we can't ever not honor the pain of what something was.
Yeah.
An expression of the feelings. I mean, we talk about this on our show a lot. The, we have to sort of pull out that feeling and go, this feels crappy. Okay. I'm going to just let my body experience this in whatever way, in a controlled way. And then I'm going to be like, okay, I've experienced it. And I don't need to hold on to this anymore. I'm going to get rid of it. Yeah. Well, that's a simplistic view, mind you, in, complex complex circumstances. But
Jonathan says, thank you. You're welcome. I didn't do anything other than invite these incredibly gifted people to join me. I also think, I also want to say is that it's gone. Wow. Poof. Like it went away.
Oh, the time.
No, what I was going to say.
Oh.
No. Well, yeah, the time is going. No, I think part of it is also as I've learned in my own journey with therapy is that the first reaction that I have, that first level of emotion, it's actually something underneath that. I know there's a technical term for that. It's like anger for me is a gateway emotion.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what those are called, but
often it's a root fear.
Primary and secondary emotions.
Yeah. You can get to the root cause of what it is. You're in a better space.
She wins. So, so is it possible to reset your RAS?
I talk about the brain like a computer, right? We got all kinds of programming going on in there. There's nothing wrong with reprogramming it. It just takes time.
Yeah.
I mean, there you go. It just takes time. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'm probably the only one who feels this way. I want that reset and I want it done yesterday.
Right.
Oh, and I don't think you're the only one that feels that way.
But this is why we have so much trouble with the RAS, right? Because something happens and we go, okay, I don't want to feel this way anymore. First problem. Because we don't want to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then we go, okay, I'm going to do this thing so that I don't have to feel that. Second problem. So then we practice this thing to avoid this other feeling. And then it doesn't work because that other feeling is still there. So then we go, well, this new practice doesn't work. I'm giving up. Third problem. And then we never actually get to reprogramming. All we're ever doing is confirming the initial issue over and over and over again.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So we have to actually let ourselves feel that initial feeling.
Right?
Yeah.
But if we go, damn, this makes me so angry. Okay. I'm going to give myself a minute. I'm going to sit in this anger. Why am I pissed? Why does this bother me so much?
5 whys, root cause analysis.
Dig down. Because ultimately, at some level, there's a core belief in there that there's something wrong with you, or there's something that you need to change, or there's something that happened with you. That's where the work starts.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Wow.
And that's where we start the reprogramming.
It's powerful. I think it's one of those things. This is a lot of times when we get to the root cause and we see it authentically, it suddenly doesn't have control over us in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still there, but it's like the roots aren't in and grasp. It's like, oh, I see you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to open that up. We're going to pull you out a little bit. You're going to sit in my hand, as Tanys said, and I'm going to look you straight in the eye.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, if you have that happening, there are great professionals out there to help you.
Mm-hmm. So, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, okay. Oh, my brain hurts now.
Oh, no.
Right reasons.
Sorry, Gerald.
For all the right reasons. So,
yeah. Yes.
Anger,
it is often a fear.
Yeah. Right? I mean, anger, it's so funny. Anger gets such a bad rap. Anger isn't bad. How we act on our anger can have a negative impact, but anger in and of itself, it has a valid place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we need to be really conscientious of that fact, because anger generally tells us that we feel like there's an injustice, or we feel like there's something that is outside of our control and we don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so if we are able to take a moment and really figure out why we're angry, it can help us release something probably very important to us that we're holding on to that's not healthy for us.
Yeah. Peter J. Watts is here, as well as Thomas Tarot Your Way, has said,
Hey.
Jennifer, wow, I asked the same questions to the fundamentalist who gets so angry about LGBTQ plus issues.
Yeah. I mean, truly, when we talk about those anger issues, when it comes to people who are mean against other groups of people, there's something within them that they're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what it always comes down to,
Yeah.
right? And so, you know, we look at anger and we get so offended by it. But if we can just recognize that it's somebody else's pain or somebody else's insecurity, then it doesn't have the same impact. And when it's our anger, if we can look at it and go, okay, there's something within me that is really not okay with this.
Yeah.
Let me figure out why. Then I can have the strength to navigate it.
Yes. Yes. Beth said, Jennifer, I think anger has a bad rap because we aren't taught how to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
We stop using our words. Some people drink, all kinds of things that stop a healthy, angry discussion.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things that I think it's, if we were to, because, you know, I've had, as a kid, I had people to tell me to not be angry.
Mm-hmm.
So I was told not to have a feeling, not to feel the way I was. And I'm like going, and, you know, it wasn't until I was an adult to where somebody said, you can be angry. It's okay. Sit with it. And trust me, the first time somebody did that and I heard them, I was like shocked. And I'm like, going, I can be this way. I don't have to defend myself for being this way. And she was like, nope, be angry. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Carl Rogers, in his book, The Good Life, he talks about what it is to have the good life. And one of the things he talks about is not being afraid of our shadows, right? And being able to actually look at them. Our shadows are only scary when we've held them down for so long that releasing them is going to be scary, right?
Yeah.
But if we allow them their process, then there is no danger in anger. There's only danger in anger if we've held it down for so long that that moment of releasing it is like, you know, it's about to explode because we haven't given it its time and we haven't listened to its message.
Yeah. As Thomas says, anger is only one letter away from danger.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't deal with it, and we have to relearn that. So
that is definitely a society thing, you know.
yes,
We need to reprogram that, because what we create is this pressure cooker within. By pushing and pushing and pushing, it just creates all this pressure, right? And that's why people are very explosive with their anger when it doesn't need to get to that stage.
Right. Now, again, let's go back to RAS, right? We're pressure cookers, and we're training our RAS that when these things happen, they're trigger points. Right? So now every time something happens that's in line with one of these triggers, we've trained ourselves that this is how we're supposed to respond, that this is the way that the nervous system has to react. These are the systems that have to go offline. This is why we have more illness. This is why we have all of these different, you know, irritable bowels and all of our digestive system issues and all of these other things, our nervous system issues, why we have so many things that are connected to the nervous system illness-wise, but the doctors go, I don't actually understand this disease.
Yeah.
But I think it has to do with anxiety, right? That this is where all of this comes from, because we hold it all in because we're told we're not allowed to feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember a good friend of mine, she was having kids, and they would get angry, or they would act out in anger, and she would look at them and she said, try to use your words. And she would just wait. And I'm like going, That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good, because as an adult, sometimes I do not have the words to express what is going on with me, because I've never recognized this before. Anyhow, so
Yeah.
it's fascinating.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So reticular activating system.
Mhm.
Everybody has one. You can work with it. You can it does, when you let it do what it is supposed to do, it can really help you. When you set the pathways up oddly, I'll say oddly, when you haven't upgraded your reticular activating system. Oh, God. I've got them all laughing now, We need to upgrade, we're downloading. Well, see, but isn't that interesting? We're, so many of us are talking about over so many of the events that have been going on. People are downloading, the vibrations are changing. I would imagine that this is part of when we start paying attention to this and considering it, it could really shift a lot of things for us individually, and therefore all of existence.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are all one. We are all connected.
Yeah.
So, our primary responsibility is to take care of ourselves and our vibration and our well-being.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If we do that, and everybody does that,
Yeah.
we will all be in much better space.
Peter J. Watts said, due to a violent, especially in middle school, my high school chemistry teacher offered a transcendental meditation class after school, and it was a game changer.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Or her.
Great.
Good for him or her. Yeah.
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 I mean,
Them. Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I've kept you on 13 minutes longer than what I said I was going to. This has
That's
been
okay.
great.
That's okay.
I mean, I'm looking at you, Jenn, in particular. Any messages that they want to get out quickly so that you can sort of be done? Your guides.
No, there's nothing that they've got. They had so much, and now they're just like, yeah, I think you got it all through. I don't know, guys. Is there anything else? You want me to do the picture? Okay, fine, I'll do the picture. All right, I'll show you guys the picture.
Okay, I'm going to embiggen you. Tanys, look away because you'll be big for a second. Okay.
Tanys could be big for a second. You can leave
kinda used to it.
on the screen too. Okay, so this is really cool. If you guys can see it, I'm going to see if I can like see it too at the same time. So basically what our RAS does, I need your little hands, Gerald. Let me see if I get a, hold on.
Pencil or pen, maybe.
Send me your dress. I can make that happen. You can realize that, Tiny hands don't take up a lot of room when they go through the mail.
Oh, she's got a squirrel. Look at that.
Got a squirrel.
Yeah. Squirrel. Okay. So what happens is, so you can see this is our stage of working memory, right? So this is kind of like what we have to work with. And then we've got all of this unconscious area. Okay. And then we have what's called the conscious spotlight. This is kind of what the RAS is bringing to our awareness, right? Mm-hmm. And then what happens is we've got all of these things. So we've got all of the sensory stimuli that comes in, right? So this is everything that comes in from our senses, right? And then we've got all of the other stuff, right? So we've got like our sense of self, who we think we are. We've got all of the expectations that we bring into our experience, all of our intentions, and all of our perceptions, because all of this stuff plays into kind of how we choose to experience our reality, right? And I say choose to because our core beliefs and everything else and what we want in our experience is what we look for in our experience, right? And then we have down here all of the things that kind of influence that, right? So interpreters, like how we're choosing to see things, all the filters that we have, all of the memories. Language plays a key part. This is like relational frame theory, which we could get into at some point. And like the automatisms is like just all of the things that just happen without our conscious thinking about it, right? And so we've got all of this stuff playing into what is going on with our RAS and what filters through in what kind of gets determined to go into this conscious spotlight, right? And so a lot of this stuff we're not even aware of or conscious of. And so a lot of the work that we need to be doing is becoming more mindful of what's going on in all of these areas, right? Who do I think I am and who do I want to be, right? And this is that spiritual connection with my higher self. And how do I bring that into awareness? Well, that's going to look at my intentions and my expectations. And how does that play into how I'm going to perceive this situation? Am I going to be, very, I want to say like tunnel visioned, right? Am I going to be very limited in how I'm choosing to perceive this? Or am I going to stay open and curious and allow something to be whatever it could be, right? And that's going to play a lot into what filters I have in place and how I'm going to choose to see it. So I think that, when we talk about the RAS and we talk about that piece of how to connect all of these things, and we talk about intentional awareness, we really have to be mindful of who do I really want to be in this moment, and what are all of the filters and all of the things that are coming into play that are making it like this, and what can I be conscious of and open to in order to allow it to be like this.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, on that note, that's freaking brilliant. Jennifer, what do you have coming up this week?
Well, I got Twillow Talk in an hour and a bit, 2 hours, an hour and a bit.
2 hours. 2 hours.
About 5.
And I think you're doing readings this week with Michelle, Marie, and Tanys.
I am.
Yeah. So we're spending time together this week, Jen.
I am. I'm excited. That's going to be so much fun too.
Absolutely.
Yes. And Tanys, what do you have coming up? Because
I have those two.
All of the things. You do all of the things.
I have those two, and then I have open mic this Friday with Ramsey at 7:00.
Nice.
I have a Reiki 1 class on Saturday, which is online. So anybody wanting to learn Reiki 1. So that's what I got going on this week.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
There is, I would like to mention the Alliance for Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact.
Yes.
I'm a galactic ambassador with them and in the Astro. And they're having a conference next Wednesday. So that's one to take a look at if you're interested. It's Adam Apollo is going to be speaking, as well as Ruben Langdon and Sylvain Rochon, a whole bunch of them anyway. There's about, I think we have 7 or 8 speakers that are going to be speaking about all things ET. So that'll be a fun conference as well.
Excellent. And
I'll be there, not speaking. Be there.
You'll be there. Will you physically be there, or
no?
It... Okay.
It's online.
It's all online.
Yeah.
So there you go. both of these amazing people's links are below. So so do pay attention to that. Go over to their channels, like and subscribe. Tanys also is the founder of Twillow Lifestyle Community.com or Twillow Lifestyle
TwillowLifestyle.ca.
.ca.
Yeah.
So,
And we have a school as well, Twillow Lifestyle Academy.
Yep.
And we have a wonderful group of teachers that are amazing. Jenn is one, and we're hoping that we might have another one.
maybe.
We're chatting.
Yes.
So, and Gerald's also going to be on Twillow Talk.
Yep.
Fairly regularly.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And thank you.
Regular guest.
Michelle Marie put it up there.
Thank you. Yes. So we've got that. We have a membership as well where the teachers contribute stuff too. So we do have a membership site too that you can reach through TwillowLifestyle.ca.
Yeah. And I was looking at the membership and I'm like, why haven't I been a member of this? And I'm like going, gee, do I just do the whole year and save 2 months? So anyhow, stay tuned.
It's a good number.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I like 11s. Just saying.
It is a good number. So, all right. Later today, I have caffeinated and unfiltered readings. The other thing I like to tell everybody is please just like and subscribe to all of our channels. I have it set up to where you're seeing all of the lives that I'm doing. Here in the United States, we have Thanksgiving this week.
Oh, yes. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Thank you. And my family celebrates Thanksmas on Saturday. So between now and Friday night or early Saturday, I will be working on a fabric landscape that needs to be finished. So it's like, okay, maybe you'll see pictures of it. So
nice.
And, we will be. I'm going to have these people back again. So I keep asking them and they keep saying yes. So.
Well, and you can check out Gerald on ours as well on Twillow Talk Mondays at 5 because he'll be on there regularly as well.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. You are all great, and we will head out. So thank you. Bye.